Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Luke Immerse Prime here, so it's time for the next episode of my series of Old is Better Than New. And today I thought I'd cover quite a big topic because this category where I think old is better than new actually applies to lots of things, which could be films, TV shows or video games. And this, of course, is a feature of them which is made using computers. And in recent times, I really think that for the most part, it really has gone downhill compared to older versions of this made by computers. And this, which in my opinion is better in old than the new for the most part, is none other than CGI. So, now when it comes, of course, to what I think of CGI, I think, of course, it's a wonderful addition to projects. And it's definitely, in my opinion, worthy to be included for the most part. Because it can help, of course, scenes work really well. It can create new things. And it's just wonderful what you can create from a computer. Like, computer-generated imagery, just brilliant, really. And examples of films which I think have absolutely stunning CGI, which I think stands the test of time. There's tons I could say. So, for example, when it comes to my favourite franchise of all time, Star Wars, which I watched when I was a little kid, and I still watch old films up to this day, I think that the CGI for visual trilogy, even though that trilogy used lots of practical effects too, definitely in my opinion holds up really well because the visual effects department were very creative, of course. Industrial Light and Magic were very creative when designing the visual effects, of course, for the film. And I also, as well, I'll definitely love the CGI in prequels. And I will also happily defend prequels because I personally don't think the CGI in the prequels is bad. One example of CGI which I think is miles better than today's CGI for me is Yoda in the prequels because he's CGI in the prequels and I think he holds up really well in my opinion. And another massive example I can also say is also a film trilogy based on my favourite book franchise of all time, which is the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy. Like, when I watch, it's so hard for me to believe that the franchise is 2 decades old. It's really hard to believe it's that old. Because I personally think that trilogy holds up phenomenally with CGI that is absolutely fantastic and is just so stunning to look at. For example, Gollum and also the scenery and all that and the visual effects, just brilliant. Like, just tons of reasons why it's my favourite book franchise when it comes to being, of course, converted to live action movies. And also why Return of the King is my favourite franchise finale of all time as well. And it just really blows my mind how the Lord of the Rings trilogy holds up. And another example I can also say when it comes to characters as well is also probably as well Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean. I've already praised his CGI in my reviews for the films he's in and also in other Pirates of the Caribbean related videos too. And once again here I'll say that the visual effects department definitely deserves tons of praise for what he did with Davy Jones and his crew members because that CGI is from 2006 and 2007 and it looks absolutely phenomenal. Like, it's so hard to believe it's that old. Like, it's just ageless in my opinion. Like, they really nailed it as well. And I think as well that lots of superhero related films, in my opinion, have great CGI. One example for me is probably the CGI in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. And one of the reasons why Spider-Man 2 is my favourite movie of all time is also because of its CGI. I mean, it won an Oscar for visual effects. Definitely well deserved. Like, for example, did you know that in Doc Ock's final scene of the film where he sacrificed himself by drowning himself with his experiments, that shot of him as he's drowning is entirely CGI. Like, completely digital, and it looks so realistic, and like, you never would have guessed it was CGI. I never guessed it at all when I was a kid, and it blew my mind when I read about it. And yeah, that trilogy CGI is so great for its time, in my opinion, and definitely still watchable to this day. Like, it never gets old at all. And when it comes as well to other Marvel-related stuff, of course, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in my opinion, for the most part, does have great CGI. But I'm mainly talking about the Infinity Saga and also the Sony-made films which are part of the MCU, like the Spider-Man films, for example. And while there may be some things in the Infinity Saga that I don't like much, like, for example, Thor Dark World or Iron Man 3, I will gladly take their CGI over today's CGI for the MCU, which I'll definitely get to. And even the characters also look great too, like, for example, Thanos. Like, Thanos' CGI is incredible, and it's one of the reasons why he's one of my favourite motion capture characters of all time, alongside Gollum and Davy Jones. Like, it's just shocking, really, in my opinion, how well he holds up. Just amazing. Even DC CGI can hold up really well too. Like, for example, Superman Returns CGI, in my opinion, is really good for its time. And also, I would also say the first two films with Christopher Reeve Superman, in my opinion, hold up really well too as well. Let's not talk about the third and fourth ones, because I hate those films, but still, the first two films have great CGI, absolutely. And then, also, as well, I also thought the DCU's, start of its franchise had great CGI too, in my opinion. But recently, though, that has really gone downhill when it comes to CGI, sadly, from what I've seen of it, which I'm very appalled by. And when it comes as well to other shows too as well, I even think that even old shows have great CGI too for their time. And like, for example, the old seasons of Doctor Who, in my opinion, have great CGI for the most part. That's what I'll definitely say, in my opinion. And I will also say even video games, in my opinion, have great CGI. Like, my favourite era of games is probably in the 7th generation era, because my favourite console of all time is the PS3. And the games on that, many of them are from my childhood, and they're great, in my opinion. And in my opinion, they hold up really well, because back then, of course, game designers didn't care about being so ultra-realistic. They wanted to make good games, but at the same time, the results of graphics they had were great, in my opinion. Just great to look at. Like, I was very impressed by it. So, I definitely really think that, the old games, definitely in my opinion, can hold up better than today's games. There's unfortunately quite a lot of bad games which were released recently, which I'll get to. But when it comes to bad CGI recently, though, I feel that it really has gone downhill in recent times, and it looks so bad compared to old films I've just praised just then, and older shows, and also old games too as well. Like, one example, in my opinion, of bad CGI is in regards to characters, because, for example, when it comes to MCU, it really shocks me how Thanos, who is an old character, looks miles better than MODOK. Because even though I quit watching the MCU, I have seen what MODOK looks like in the third Ant-Man film, and upon seeing it, I face-palmed, and I cringed so much. Like, that is one of the worst characters I've ever had a misfortune of seeing in my life. Like, you go from Thanos to that, what an absolute joke. Like, it's just really appalling. And I've also as well seen screenshots and clips from other MCU films, and I think it's quite clear that one of the reasons why the MCU is now a broken MCU is because it doesn't care about good visual effects. It only cares about shoving in garbage. Does not care about a good story or good visual effects at all. And I want to set a record straight and say that I don't blame the visual effects department for the bad CGI. I blame the directors they have for making them work too much, and I don't blame them all for going on strike. I really don't blame them. I would too if I was working for them, because they're being rushed to make all these projects coming on and on and on, it's causing all the CGI to go horribly wrong. And I think that's just, shocking, really. Like, you go from Infinity Saga, which had great CGI, even films I'm not a fan of had good CGI, to this. Like, come on. Like, I really don't know what happened. And I also personally wouldn't say it's budget that can, of course, make CGI better. So, like, I'm not saying that the bigger the budget, the better CGI. Because I've noticed that sometimes films with low budgets tend to have better CGI and visual effects compared to films with lots of budget. For example, one DCU film that I flat out refuse to watch, but I've seen clips of which has dreadful CGI, is probably The Flash. Like, if I was to watch it, I'd say it's the worst DC film of all time. And probably the worst DC film ever in general, because of how disrespectful it was. And just how trash the story and visual effects were. Like, that film had a budget of about $200 million. But let's compare that to another film released in the same year, around Christmas time, which was not made by, an American studio, but actually a Japanese studio. Which, of course, is none other than, of course, Godzilla Minus One. Because I saw that film recently, and compared to a flashy CGI, which I saw clips of, which I facepalmed and cringed at, I absolutely loved the CGI in Godzilla Minus One. My mind was blown. I was so hyped throughout. And it's really mind-blowing to me how that film has a low budget, and it has far better CGI than anything from DCEU and the MCU in recent times. Like, that is just so embarrassing for those franchises, how a film with a low budget has better visual effects from them. And In addition to that as well, another example as well of a franchise which I think holds up phenomenally because of its low budget when it comes to, of course, to visual effects, is probably the Evil Dead franchise, my favourite horror franchise of all time. Yeah, I absolutely love Evil Dead franchise, and I personally think the visual effects are amazing, and that's why it's my favourite horror franchise of all time, because back then, of course, they used a low budget, but it still held up really well. So, as far as I'm concerned, old CGI, for the most part, can be better than new CGI. But I would, however, say, when it comes to my future watching films, one of the reasons why I'm sticking to watching original films and not part of franchises is because films which are part of franchises which have been milked for a long time, like, of course, the MCU, can have a massive downgrade in quality. So I'm going to stick to original films made by, directors that I still trust when we're making good films. And that's what I'll do. And I've also unfortunately heard not good things about recent CGI. For example, I've seen clips of CGI from Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, which I think looks absolute trash compared to Peter Jackson's films. And also, I did also unfortunately watch the Halo show, those first season, and that CGI, in my opinion, was utter garbage, especially compared to the stunning graphics of the games, which I've played and I loved. And also, I've seen clips of recent Doctor Who CGI, and I've been very appalled by it. I cannot believe even the old seasons from 2005 were much better. Like, goodness me. Like, why the better CGI? Like, that's just ridiculous. And also gaming as well. There's lots of offenders when it comes to gaming, which I could say, count towards CGI being bad in them. Because I have not played any of these games I'm about to mention released last year. But I can guarantee that old games have miles better CGI from them based on the clips I've seen. So, for example, The Lord of the Rings Gollum, and also as well, Starfield, in my opinion, looks absolutely embarrassing and lifeless. And also, as well, King Kong Return to Skull Island, which looks absolute garbage. I can't believe Peter Jackson's 2005 movie has far better CGI than that game. Even the game based on his films has miles better graphics, and that's just shocking. That game's from 2005. And also, as well, Forspoken looks, in my opinion, just terrible. And has worse AI than the old Assassin's Creed games, which is just shocking. And that's why I really appreciate the old Assassin's Creed games a lot. I really do, because they have great CGI and great character AI in them. I just can't believe, we live in an era now where we're downgrading in terms of, what we're getting. Things are going so downhill, and I really don't like that. So, this is why when it comes to, of course, what I'm going to watch and also play games of, I'm mainly going to stick to the old stuff. When it comes to new stuff, or when it comes to films, I'll probably stick to original stuff, of course, and so which I'm still keeping going with. And also, as well, when it comes to games, I'll definitely be playing old games, absolutely, because I've got lots of games on PSP that I still have yet to play, and I'm very excited to play them, absolutely. So I can't wait for that. So, anyway, guys, this is me covering the next episode of Always Better Than New, while saying why, in my opinion, old CGI for the most part is better than new. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to note in the comments what you guys think of CGI, doing old CGI is better than new. Let me think in the comments below. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe. More videos come in the future, and I'll see you all later.